Hey there, welcome to a slightly chiller Things of Interest video, since I mostly just wanted to share a little bit about one of my recent pickups, and that's this, a new N64 flashcard called the SummerCart64. Now, I've previously had an older EverDrive 64 flashcard for my system, so what's up the upgrade? Well, the SummerCart64 is a project that's been in the works since the early 2020s by Polish developer Mateusz Fedorewski. And its main goals are to create a N64 flashcard that's open source, has more features while being cheaper and faster than the EverDrive, and with more convenient debugging features for homebrew developers. And indeed, the current most fully featured EverDrive 64, the X7 model, costs $159 US, while a pre-built SummerCart64 from, for example, Phenom Mod in the US costs $108 US. And of course, since it's open source, you can order the PCBs on your own, print your own shell, and build it yourself for even cheaper if you have the skills. Now, no shade towards Crix, who makes the EverDrives. The EverDrive is still a very solid product line, but you know, it's fun to have some competition sometimes. So I specifically got the SummerCart64 as, even though I'm not a developer myself and I won't be diving deep into all of its technical features, I'm looking at this from more of a casual consumer's perspective. And this definitely has several features that will be a massive upgrade over the older EverDrive 64 that I currently have. Specifically, it has slightly faster loading times for games, it can save game progress automatically without me having to manually reset the system to do so, it has a real-time clock battery inside so you can run games like the original version of Animal Crossing, and in one of the biggest straws for me, this has built-in hardware emulation for the 64DD. Now, the 64DD, as you might know, is the failed disk drive add-on released late in the N64's life. It was barely supported, had pretty much only 9 games released on it, and has since become one of the most expensive pieces of Nintendo hardware, like, ever. Like, more than the Satellaview, more than the Virtual Boy, more than the Panasonic Q, or any other obscure Nintendo system you can think of, these have been regularly going from the $1,500 to $3,000 US range depending on what it's bundled with. Like, it flopped that hard. Which is also why I don't think I'll ever be able to afford one without being ridiculously lucky, and even if I found like a loose disk drive, I'd still have to find the games, and those are also super expensive. So with the SummerCart64 here, I should no longer have to worry about all of that, and it can even run some of the fan translations and homebrew done for the 64DD as well, as we will see later. So before we begin, here's a look at the cartridge itself with a fancy smoke transparent shell and a holographic label. As I said, this is an open source project, so anyone can build and sell their own cartridges. Like, this version specifically is from Phenom Mod, one of the available sellers of pre-built cartridges as of this video. I'll put the link to their store page in the description, not an ad, I bought this myself and I just think it's neat. If you want to know more about where else to buy these cards, just check out the official SummerCart64 site for other resources, and I'll link that in the description as well. So this one I have here has a pretty high quality injection molded plastic shell that comes in smoke or clear transparent, and the external features are pretty straightforward. So of course you've got the micro SD card slot on the side here, and on the side we have a USB-C port, which apparently can do a lot of things in terms of debugging, but I'll leave you to look that up yourself on the official site. But this port can also be used to upgrade the flashcard firmware, and apparently a bunch of other things, and there's just a simple button on the back for various purposes, as we'll see later in a bit. So sit back, relax, and we'll plug this one in, check out some cool features, and of course enjoy some 64DD games with the SummerCart64. Alright, so here we are with the menu for the SummerCart64, or if you want to be more specific, because this is an open source flashcard, it does support third-party menus if you wanted to. So this here specifically is the N64 Flashcart Menu. It is an open source menu from the same person who made the SummerCart64, so it's designed to be used on that. But you could theoretically load it on a different flashcard like the 64 drive. And I have seen someone actually do like a proof of concept menu where it actually makes it look like the NSO N64 app, which is super cool, but it's still clearly like super bare bones and just made as a proof of concept. But like, if this was like more common and someone could like flesh it out into a more functional menu, it would be super nice. But for now, this looks pretty similar to like your typical flashcard EverDrive menu, right? So if you look in the options, okay, that's just show into your properties. If you go into settings, now a lot of the settings right now, you can see it asks you to go into a config file in the SD card to actually change the settings, and even the RTC, the clock settings, you can't actually change them on the flashcard itself. You have to connect it to a PC and use a client program in order to automatically set it and sync it to your system computer time on your PC. But they are working on like expanding this menu, or working on expanding the settings functionality so it can include more functions you can do directly on the menu. But for now, this will have to do. And if you go in like the system info, it can show your current day and time. It shows me the NSO N64 controller is currently connected to the thing, as I mentioned in that other video. There's the credits. So shout outs to these people. And adjust RTC. Yep, you could use the terminal application and show card info. Apparently this section is not yet complete, so it's just empty. Oh well, but whatever. And as you can see, I have a background image here because you can actually put in any 640 by 480 resolution PNG and it'll be able to set it as a background image. And yeah, this menu is in 480p compared to like most N64 games which are only in 240p, so that's kind of neat. But yeah, I'll head into just the regular N64 game section to show you that it basically works about the same way as usual, but I put in some box art. So if I go into, for example, Super Smash Bros., you can see it loads the box art in the corner and shows a whole bunch of like technical information because, you know, it's a technical flashcard, which is kind of neat. And I can set the save types and all that stuff. So yeah, as an open source flashcard, there are lots of different technical settings that you can tweak. But you know, you don't really have to care about all that. If you press A, it just loads into the game. Yep, there you go. But yeah, Smash Brothers. I'm not going to show too much of just regular retail games, but I'm going to press reset, go back to the menu. But the good thing about this is that, of course, it saves games automatically. So it saves games its own little save folder here. And actually, for some technical info, you might know that N64 games have different save file formats, like SRA, SAV, FLA, and on this flashcard, they all have the same file extension apparently, which is an interesting little quirk. But yeah, compared to the older EverDrive that I have, which on that older flashcard you had to like press reset after you save a game in order to actually save it onto the SD card. But in this one you don't have to. Now, well, later EverDrives also have this feature, but you know, this feature is new to me, so it's very much appreciated. But yeah, I can do the same thing, load hacks and homebrew, but of course, the main star of the show for this flashcard is of course the 64DD support, so let's go in there. So I have a bunch of interesting files here. So of course we have the regular games, because the file extension for N64DD games is NDD, and you can see they're all like 60 something megabytes. But actually, if you are using an older N64 flashcard, there are actually cartridge conversions of these games that are available. I have them like in this older folder here. As you can see, they're just regular N64 ROMs, so theoretically you could load those on an older flashcard and they would still work. But according to 64DD expert Luigi Blood, these cartridge conversions are actually a bit of a pain to make, and as you can see here, there's only like 4 games that have ever been converted to a cartridge. I forgot if there are more or if I just only downloaded these 4, but yeah, it is definitely way more convenient to just have the original files here that I can check out. So these are the original versions. Of course, you have the Randnet disk. If I can just like load one, for example, because this one is basically like the Randnet service. It has all the internet services like email, internet browser, I believe. So of course it loads in the BIOS. And that's cool. You do have to supply the BIOS files yourself, but anyway, it will load into Randnet. And at this point, I believe I need to insert the modem, which it's a thing that goes into the cartridge slot. But of course, right now the cartridge slot is occupied by the flashcard, so I can't really do that. But apparently, theoretically, some people have made a homebrew tool that is basically a cartridge slot splitter. So it's a thing that plugs in the cartridge slot, and then you can plug in the flashcard and the modem cartridge, or the other accessories that made use of the cartridge slot, like the capture cartridge, and theoretically you'll be able to use it that way, but I just have the regular flashcard for now, so that will have to do. So aside from the regular Japanese retail games, there are also, thankfully, the 64DD community has done a very good deed and made translations of a few of these games, and most notably the Mario Artist games, which are actually really cool because like everyone's probably heard of the Mario Artist games because they're very closely associated with the 64DD. You know, it's just like, yeah, they made a successor to Mario Paint on the N64DD, but like, you just like stop and think about that. Yeah, people love Mario Paint. They would absolutely love a sequel, and you know, it's just on this obscure accessory that no one else has access to, and it's actually legitimately really cool. So I'm gonna show you some of these Mario Artist fan translations, and they're done courtesy of Luigi Blood, who also did the translations for these. He's a really cool guy. And of course, a bunch of other games have also been translated by the rest of the 64DD community. Just shout outs to those. If you want to check out all these translations and where to find them, you can head on over to 64dd.org. That's the site that Luigi Blood runs, where it's basically a one-stop shop for everything related to the 64DD. Super useful, highly recommended. So let's just hop into the translation of Mario Artist Paint Studio, and before I hop in, I do want to bring up something. You know that I mentioned that there was a button on the back of the cartridge, right? Well, for N64 DD games, what it specifically does is emulate ejecting the disc. So if I kind of like load the game, and then I press the button on the back of the cartridge as I do it, I get to enjoy the the BIOS by itself, where it tells you to insert a disc, because right now I technically do not have a disc inserted, and I can see the funny little animation of Mario on the N64 DD menu. I don't know, I just think it's not useful, but you know, just being able to see this running on real hardware is kind of cool. And if I hold A, apparently you can set the date and time here. I don't know if it actually affects the date and time settings on the actual flash card. I haven't actually tried that, but right now it's accurate, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. But yeah, it's just a neat little function you can do. I'm just gonna press the button on the back of the flash card, and we will load into Mario Artist. And there it is, Mario Artist Paint Studio in all of its English translated glory. Just like for the purposes of this video, it might be better to just play the fan translation so you can see what's actually happening on the screen. So it has multiple options. We have 3D World, predating the Mario game. But of course the main event is 2D Paint. And as you can see, it actually supports up to 4 players because of the 4 controller slots on the N64. So, you know, that's true innovation right there. But yeah, once you hop in, this will look familiar to anyone who's played Mario Paint. So right now I am using the N64 analog stick, but the N64 Mario Artist Paint Studio actually did come with an N64 mouse, and that mouse is of course hecking expensive, so I don't own it. But if you have the blue retro wireless receiver that I mentioned in a previous video where I used it to connect the NSO N64 controller, you can actually apparently change the settings of that receiver so that it can emulate an N64 mouse, and you can use a Bluetooth mouse with Mario Artist Paint Studio. I haven't set it up here yet because I'm just using a regular controller. But, you know, it's just a really cool functionality to have because I'm not paying that much for a mouse. But, yeah, I can just, like, you know, select the color and paint. That's a dark red. I don't want to do that. And you can change. There's like 9 pages. You get patterns, custom colors. It's basically just like Mario Paint. Of course, there are multiple more options there. You can have shapes, fill, zoom, eraser. Undo dock is still here. He's looking a little different than usual. And we've got special effects, which basically brightness and contrast settings. You can sharpen, contrast, drip, makes it fuzzy. A lot of this UI just basically reminds me of like 90s art programs for kids, where basically every tool just have their own like special effects and sound effects. It's like really charming. We've got a coloring book option, which I guess is just templates for, you know, coloring books. What is Spocky? That's an alien. That's Spocky, I guess. Hi, Spocky. Most obscure Nintendo characters. Spocky for Smash Brothers. What's Sorty? That's a robot. Drive. That's a car. Lion. That's a lion. Fishing. Yep, fishing. Are there Nintendo characters? Far West. Wow. I wonder who drew these. Cute Rico. Aloha. There's like many different styles, but no Nintendo characters were cult adults. Those are indeed code adults. Dragon. Yep. Why? Okay, dragon, but the thumbnail is of the hero in the corner there. But yeah, coloring book. Nice thing for kids. And of course, there are character stamps. So you can see we have Mario, Star Fox, and more. So of course, Mario is your basic N64 Mario render. Yep, you can just paste the one N64 render of Mario. And if you hold the B button, I believe, you can stretch it out. You can do that, but and then you can just press A to paste it on there, or do the funny, or do this. You got the Star Fox characters. These are the guys from Pilot Wing 64. All right, and we have Wave Race. So these are like the launch title squad. We have Yoshi. There's just Yoshi. We have Banjo-Kazooie on here. So yeah. Clearly, this is still back in the time when, well, this is like 1999. Yeah, this is like almost like we're just nearing the end of peak Rareware. So we still get the Rareware characters like Diddy Kong Racing. Yep, all these are rare characters. And of course, you have Zelda, which is most definitely just Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask stuff. Oh, no, it's just Ocarina of Time. No Majora's Mask. I guess Majora's Mask does actually come after this, so we haven't seen it yet. But there we go. We got Pokemon, all the Gen 1 Pokemon, the classic artwork. There's 11 whole pages. I don't know if every Gen 1 Pokemon is on here. Probably not. Of course, the second category is represented by Mew. But yeah, a whole bunch of stickers that you can just paste on there. We got your text, stamps. Oh yeah, these are like basically for decorating photos. Yeah, speaking of photos, so if you want to import a photo to Mario Artist, there are actually two options. You can use the capture pack, which was basically, as I said, a cartridge that plugged onto the cartridge slot, which had AV inputs. So basically you can have AV inputs in real time fed to the Nintendo 64. So you can maybe, for example, record a television feed and then just basically make screenshots of it, and then you can edit stuff on it, which is kind of neat. Or if you had the N64 transfer pack, you could use the Game Boy camera. Yeah. You can just plug in the Game Boy camera into the N64 transfer pack, and you can just select a photo that you've already taken, or just take a photo right there on the spot. You can use the Game Boy camera on the transfer pack, which is super nice. But yeah, these are basically the two main ways you can import photos into Mario Artist. And of course, you can change the background music. The N64 music is definitely super soothing, and of course you have funny cat song. There's like the meme song of Mario Artist there. And then a monkey song, because yes, my favorite is probably Music 4. It's just like nice little chill music to draw to. Preview, cursor speed, just like it basically has the same UI as in Mario Paint. And one thing you might notice that is missing is the fly attack option, and we will get back to that momentarily. But for now, of course, because this is just emulating the N64 DD, we can also go into the save menu, and you know, just do regular saving like you would normally do on the real hardware. So there's like different galleries: Mario, Wario, Luigi, Peach, Link, Samus, Yoshi. Samus mentioned on the N64, you'll love to see it. And then you can just like pick a gallery, you know, just save photos to it. I will Luigi 1. Sure. Just use the default name, Luigi 1. There we go. And of course, after that, you can either draw multiple frames for an animation function, or you can just go into the gallery and see what you have done. I've only made 2 pictures on this so far, so let me just show you them, I guess. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, last we have 3D World, which is actually a completely separate mode where you can just, you know, look around a 3D world, like the ocean. There's like 3 options you can pick. You can pick from SeaWorld, Jurassic World, or Planet Mars. And you can change the texture by painting. You can paint over the textures that are used by these creatures. So we have Dolphin and Fish 1. But I think I do have a creation that I've saved here somewhere. If I go to load, current creation, how do I load something? Load. Go back to the gallery. There's my fish. The Mariofin. I will show you my greatest creation, the Mariofin. There it is. The Mariofin. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed me just pasting the N64 Mario render onto the texture of a dolphin. Yeah, this is the kind of stupid crap that this game lets you do, and it is honestly pretty amazing. And I could just click the watch button, and there you go, make it full screen, there you go. And here we see the Mariofin in its natural habitat. Incredible. And of course, you could also explore, and you become a diver, and you can actually, you know, dive around in a pretty slow speed, but you can do that. You can just explore a 3D world, which is actually a really cool side mode for Mario Artist, and kind of makes up for the whole lack of fly attack thingy, nat attack, whatever you want to call it. Can I find the Mariofin while swimming around? I'm gonna waste so much time. I'm gonna I forgot what. Okay, you can take pictures as well, by the way, and you can even save your pictures, which is kind of cool. Oh, whoops. How do I return? There we go. I can't find the Mariofin. All right, okay. I think I'm gonna just switch to the other modes. So in addition to the Sea World, we also have Jurassic World, which is, as the name suggests, if it loads, it does take a while to load. Dinosaurs. Brachiosaurus. Pteranodon, I guess that's what it's called, but yeah. And of course we have Planet Mars. That's a pretty upbeat music for Mars. Oh, there it is. There's an alien. It is bouncing. What are you called? Snorky. And Laura, who was kind of sliding around a slide and just flying around. Oh yeah, it says if you take a picture, which I guess, like, if you take enough pictures, you can unlock more characters, default characters. So that's kind of nice. You can even paint. So let me just show you what paint is. Actually, I don't know what this is. Ah! Yeah, you can paint. Okay, so yeah, it's just painting on the textures. You can just, like, look at all the texture files and, you know, just change it. So yeah, if you just want to, you can even put character stamps like I did. So I want to take, like, Banjo-Kazooie. There we go. Now it's banjo color. This is, like, the most basic way to. Alright, hope you enjoy your new banjo colors, but yeah, that's Mario Artist Paint Studio. Just a pretty decent successor to Mario Paint, all things considered. And yeah, it's really cool that at this point Mario Paint has, like, 3 different successors at this point, which is kind of neat. Actually, I do want to quickly show off Mario Artist Polygon Studio as well, because as you know, this is the app that lets you, you know, do 3D modeling, and it is actually, like, a little bit complicated. You gotta get used to the controls itself, but that's not what I'm here to show today because I'm not good at it and get used to it. But some people might not know that this is actually the origin of the WarioWare series. So once you make a model, and here we have the default car model, you can play mini games with the model that you make, and one of the mini games is a prototype of WarioWare. And yeah, this is where it all started. Shoutouts to the prototype to WarioWare, because I don't know, like, it's interesting. Like, intelligent systems have nothing to do with this, I believe. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's just, like, very neat to, like, play the origins of the series on the N64 where it actually started. So I hit the wall. I couldn't have reacted to that, but yeah, I just very quickly want to show this because it's neat. Okay, next up, let's talk about expansion kits, because there are games on the N64 that supported optional expansion kits via the disk drive, like F-Zero X, the most notable one here. So this is actually a translation of the F-Zero X expansion kit, which is also available, which is kind of nice. But if I launch this... Also, I want to show you... Oh, I pressed the I pressed the eject button while the disk was loading. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that this is using the unused, the prototype US English BIOS for the 64DD, which was discovered back in, like, 2016. So, you know, it's interesting to see this being used as one of the fans translations. I just thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, normally if you just boot the expansion kit disk on its own, it will tell you that you would need the cartridge to in conjunction with the disc in order to actually play the expansion pack. So you can actually do that on the SummerCart64. What you do here is go into, select the normal F-Zero X ROM file. So we have F-Zero X USA, and I believe you just exit out, and then once it shows the cartridge ROM information, you exit out, go back into the disk drive option, and it will now show you the ROM if it's F-Zero X USA. So if you press R on the bottom right there, it just says load with ROM, and that would finally allow us to launch both simultaneously. And yeah, there we go. It's F-Zero X, but with 64DD support, which actually adds a bunch of new courses, I believe. The option to edit and make your own vehicles and courses. So yeah, these are the additional options. I've not played a lot of F-Zero X, but yeah, this is a whole course creator. I can, like, well, I don't remember how to do it. You set 4 points, right? You kind of, like, press on the thing, and then you're like, ooh, it's making a course. Oh, there we go. Now I made it 8 and a wide road, and then I can press this, and now I can immediately test drive my course, which is, yeah. I didn't add any features to it, which is makes it a pretty bland course, but you can kind of see the general gist. You can, of course, make the terrain go up and down, add funny obstacles and all that. But yeah, It's just really cool that you can like, you know, they don't even have this option on NSO, so gotta do this on a flashcard. Sorry. And of course you can create your own machine, which I have no idea how this works. But I believe there are default designs that are available. So if you press load, new super Mario Brothers? No, if you press super Falcon. That's a custom thing. I can rotate around it with like D-pad and C buttons. So I guess I can just press use and I will like, or just enable it, and you can use it in the other modes like Grand Prix or Time Attack. So yeah, that's how you generally use expansion kits on the N64. Now, F-Zero X is pretty much one of the only N64 retail games that actually had expanded 64DD support, because many other retail games were planned to have expansion kits via the 64DD, but because the 64DD failed, they usually got cancelled or just got put onto the cart itself. One notable example is Ocarina of Time, Zelda Ocarina of Time, where they were planning an expansion that was basically the Master Quest version of Ocarina of Time, so it would just add new dungeon layouts. So actually, some fans have managed to recreate that thing as an expansion kit disc file, and there's even a homebrew, there's even a hack basically of Ocarina of Time called Zelda 64 Dawn and Dusk, which I can try loading here. I have to go to retail to load the Ocarina of Time. I think it's just like going to L. There you go, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and then go back to 64DD, homebrew, Dawn and Dusk, and yeah, you can load. It's basically a ROM patch that runs in real time from the disk drive, which is actually pretty cool. Because you can see it. Yeah, there we go. There's the disk label on the Ocarina of Time title screen. And of course, it only loads like disk files that are labeled like that. So I'll launch that file. Yeah, it is basically a ROM hack that's ported to the 64DD as kind of a little proof of concept that, hey, you can actually run ROM hack. Though it's not really practical nowadays. You could really just patch a ROM and be done with it, but it's just cool to see like this kind of functionality restored and just seeing it like used beyond its potential in something like F-Zero X, and now you can just have like whole ROM hacks stored in a disk drive expansion file. And there are other retail games that apparently did have 64DD support, like planned 64DD support anyway, like Mario Party 1. That one actually has unused code or an unused function that tries to load files from a 64DD disk. But as far as I know, there's no like expansion files actually made for it yet. But you know, if you can do the same something like this for Ocarina of Time, you can totally do something like that for something like Mario Party, or even, yeah, I just thought this is very cool. This is just really cool. I've said really cool a lot of times, but this is legitimately very sick to see. And as if that is not sick enough, there are also prototype discs that have been dumped over the years from development discs that are actually blue colored. And yeah, you can also play those on the SummerCart64. So here we have a prototype of Mario Artist Paint Studio that was discovered. I believe this is also a fan translation or a partial fan translation of it anyway, using what we have from the final version, but I wanted to quickly show this because the prototype of Mario Artist Paint Studio, as you can see, has a different logo. But one of the notable things about it is actually has an unused Nat Attack minigame still within it that was removed from the final product. And also Undo Dot looks different for some reason. But yeah, if you go down here, we have the coffee break. And if we go in, there we go. This is the Nat Attack that no one wanted you to see. Nintendo never showed this off, but yeah, it just went unused, got removed from the final product completely. And yeah, you just move it around with the stick and swat as usual. I love the little Mario 64 head on the corner there. Now, unfortunately, on this flashcard specifically, the game actually crashes after you beat stage 1. It doesn't do so on an emulator for some reason, which I believe has something to do with how the disk drive ROM file is situated or something. I don't know the technical details. Once I do it, it just kind of, you know, freezes, but oh well. I think that is something that I don't know if there's a fix for it, but it would be cool if it was fixed. I have saved the best for last because if you recall, back in the 2010s, there was a actually unreleased port of Mario 64 for the 64DD that was discovered. And that actually never got a cartridge conversion. It was kind of pointless to have a cartridge conversion, but hey, I can now run the 64DD prototype port of Mario 64 on real hardware. Finally using this SummerCart64. There it is. I don't know. It is completely pointless to run the 64DD version of Mario 64 on real hardware, but you know, it's stupid enough that I just had to do it. And this is just like made possible thanks to the SummerCart64. And I just think it is really cool. Look at that load time between the between me pressing start and loading the thing. There's actually pre-made save files on there, I believe. I don't know if it's from the actual original disc itself. I'm guessing it is, but yeah. Now, this is actually... I think this is not the Shindo version. Yeah, I believe, yeah, this is the original Japanese release, and there are actually a few very minor differences. For example, the castle theme has just random reverb added to it for some reason. I don't know why it does that. And some of the sound effects are also a little off. For example, the star door here. Yeah, if you've played Mario 64 before, you know that's not how that's supposed to sound. And I don't know if it's because of a glitch, because there are some other sound effects in the game that also like sound just like vaguely different from the original versions that if you've played Mario 64 for a long time, you hear them and go like, oh, that's not right. But yeah, it is just a really weird little, I guess there's a little hastily ported version of Mario 64 to use as a tech demo. And I can show you that it is indeed hastily ported because... So you might be wondering why this save file in particular has 118 stars but not 120. Well, that's because in this game, in Tiny Huge Island, due to some weird technical reason that I cannot explain right now in this video, Wiggler crashes the game. So, in this version of the game, there are 2 stars that you just cannot obtain. And that is why it's just stuck at 118 stars, just like the maximum you get. And you can't even beat the game. Well, you can theoretically beat the game, but when the credits goes into Tiny Huge Island, that also crashes the game as well. So you can just never see the end screen when you're playing this version of the game. It's just kind of a stupid little fact, and I really love it. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the SummerCart64. As you can see, there is not a lot of stuff that I can play on the SummerCart64, like aside from the fan translations, and there's like 2 homebrew games available for it. There's not much 64DD homebrew out there, but hopefully with something like the SummerCart64, I would really love to see more stuff happen. Like maybe we can even get fan translation of something like Doshin the Giant eventually. Well, I know there's the GameCube localization, but still. But yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, that was a small look at the SummerCart64. It definitely has quite a few advantages over the EverDrive 64 in its current state, and while there are some minor rough edges, like I said, regarding stuff like the menu and incomplete settings, I am still pretty confident in its future improvements with its open source nature. And with 64DD content becoming more accessible on real hardware, I really hope this opens up the opportunity for more fan projects like hacks and translations using the 64DD. Like, I wasn't really super familiar with what the DD can do before owning this, and it's mostly because I was too lazy to set it all up in an emulator, but trying this stuff out on real hardware definitely hits way different and is actually pretty dang fun. So if you want to know more about the SummerCart64 and where to get one, I'll drop some relevant links in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed this video, and take care.